Why do these people look so confused? After all, this sound is fairly familiar. Yes, I think he's recognized it at last.
I suppose that means war.
No, it means the news at 10, doesn't it?
And welcome. Yes, this week it's the Second World War, according to Smith & Jones.
Indeed. And Mel and I will be looking at all aspects of the subject, the excitements of the battlefield.
The agony of finely judged decisions.
Captain, if we don't go, then they'll kill us. And if we do go, we'll get killed there.
The camaraderie between tough fighting men.
You lead.
And the personal tragedies.
Bad news?
My daughter's guinea pig. It died.
Yes, war could be cruel.
Between 1939 and 1945, the entire world was plunged into conflict.
Nation was unable to speak peace unto nation, which is hardly surprising because, as every schoolboy knows, the Germans in World War II all spoke like this.
A narrow strip of water between the continent and England, between us and the Allies. And beyond that peaceful horizon, a maelstrom.
What? A millstone?
A millstone.
A nail's torn. A nail's torn.
That's a hailstorm?
No, it's a hailstorm. It is a hailstorm.
It's a hailstorm. So that's why they didn't actually invade England, because of the hailstorm on the other side of the channel.
As you can see, in World War II, the German accent made even the simplest things sound rather complicated.
I was a prisoner of war myself between 1916 and 18, so I know what I'm talking of. Near Edinburgh. Do you know Edinburgh?
Not well.
It is in Scotland.
Not the Edinburgh in the Isle of Wight, then.
Of course, the other baddies, the Japanese, didn't speak in the ridiculous German accents of their allies, the Germans.
No, they spoke in the ridiculous American accents of their opponents, the Americans.
Japan can no longer trust Russia. Furthermore, their actions can mean only one thing. If we sit back and wait, we will find ourselves in a poor defensive position when we are attacked.
Yes, you may gawp.
Yes, indeed. But the thing is, they were all at it in wartime. For example, an approximately Scottish accent could crop up almost anywhere.
Now listen. I am in command here now, and I know how to deal with you, scum. I'm not a simple English gentleman. I'm a simple South African.
Well, you could have fooled us, Jock.
Mind you, some people took their language very seriously indeed.
I've no room in my pack for any book. I know my Bible, that's enough for me.
This is the Bible. You must get a copy. It will explain everything to you as it has to me.
You better look up how to get out of Canada, Dan. Maybe she don't tell you that, huh? Ah, quelle écriture funny. Maybe your Führer ain't so smart as he think. Don't he know that we French Canadians have always our own school and church and a right to speak as we want?
Accent magnifique, n'est-ce pas?
Sacre bleu, absolument, Manuel, oui.
But it has to be said that when it comes to total unintelligibility, the worst offenders were the English.
Tommy, sir, from your section, Rice, Unsworth.
The two O's?
Yes, the two Owens. Now be it Toots and Cochrane.
Not Cochrane, sir.
All right, I'll leave it to you. Stuffy, who are the biggest stuffs in your lot?
Bill Wall, Wimpy, Madapan, and Popeye.
Right. Taffy Stewart, sir.
Taffy, Geordie, sir?
Dusty, Pocky Sims, and Pat Sullivan, sir.
Oh,
Diane, we must have him, look you.
Biffo and Tuffies and Squiffy and Die Look You, and I'll bring Big Ted and Mr. Bunny Rabbit and Tough nuts, those commandos, eh?
That was English as she was spoke in the Second World War. All perfectly understandable as long as you've been in the forces for about 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, unfortunately, the war only lasted for 5 years. So for the ordinary bloke, on his first day, everything was totally incomprehensible.
Well, that's actually not true. New boys were welcomed with open arms.
Fellas, do you all know David Wilton?
Hi, fellas.
Well, Dave's navigating for us tonight.
Well, he did navigate for Glenn Miller.
And here is Private Nipper Penrose meeting with his new CO.
Take off your blouse. Yes, you. Now your shirt.
My shirt, sir?
Yes, your shirt. And don't try to be funny. Now your vest. Take off your vest.
Not really suitable material for MI5, it would appear.
Obviously not a Cambridge man like yourself, Griff.
No, we wouldn't be seen dead in blouses like that.
But let's not forget the war was a serious business, often deadly serious.
Wasn't it Tolstoy who said that war consists of long periods of boredom interrupted occasionally by moments of intense excitement?
No, it was Brian Johnson. He was talking about cricket. War is long periods of boredom interrupted occasionally by being killed in often grimly unpredictable ways.
A soldier could be shot even when he was attached to an elastic band.
Or while calling the faithful to prayer. Yes, we had a full house after that.
And anyone might be hanged for trying to hitchhike away from the scene of a battle.
Others were just too confident for their own good, like US Marine Hershey B. North Dexter, seen here going well over the top.
Don't worry, Commander. There ain't no Japs here.
Pity they were fighting the Germans at the time.
But of all the nations in the war, the Japanese did have the greatest reputation for extreme fanaticism and ruthless discipline.
We shall not hesitate to spank the unruly ones.
Enough to put the fear of God into all but the most conservative of MPs. What a threat they must have been on the field of battle, if only they could have aimed straight.
The Japanese did, however, show their genius for miniaturization during the war, a technique they were later to apply to the transistor radio, the microchip, and the British motorcycle industry. Who but the Japanese could have built a tank this small? So small and yet as unstoppable as a chieftain. Unless it happens to have a rope tied to the back of it. Yes, Lance Corporal Tufty Mufty seizes his chance, and he'll soon have it under control. Oh dear, no, that's no good. I just have to hang on till it runs out of petrol, I suppose. Yes, of course, the old chopping through the rope with the spade trick. Well done, Tufty. Yes, the tank may have got away, but at least he captured the rope.
Not to be outdone, the Germans made use of midget soldiers. Or Eine kleine Volkskiller Menschen, as they were known.
What did the British have in reply?
This?
Rupert, a name guaranteed to strike fear and dread into the heart of the enemy. Sadly, Rupert really never caught on. The first time his arm was twisted, he gunned down the rest of the battalion.
Well, with forces like that, how could we lose? Or to put it another way, how on earth did we win?
The answer was, of course, training. Here we see some physical jerks doing some gymnastics, learning how to be prisoners or lemmings, and how to get into a hammock with only 2 people to help you.
As for fighting, first the trainee had to learn to kill somebody who couldn't fight back. No doubt. Back to the catering corps for you, Tommy. And, most important of all, there was the obstacle course, in case the enemy should lay hundreds of deadly tractor tyres in your path.
Training was valueless, of course, without leadership.
Well, here we are all together for the first time. You're wondering what it's all about, and I can't tell you because I don't know myself.
Well, there we are. You can't rely on everybody, I suppose.
The war threw up some of the most inspirational and well-informed officers in military history.
Now, I warn you, it's going to be a thankless task. We go not as soldiers, but as police. I'm sorry, men, but if we're an empire, we've got to pay for it, and, you know, there it is.
Let us not forget that there were formidable leaders on the other side as well. The Japanese had their emperor, and the Italians, Mussolini, the man who made the trains run on time. Inspired, of course, by the ancient Italian patriot, Garibaldi, the man who made the biscuits. The Germans, of course, had Adolf Hitler, who made the whole war possible and indeed necessary. Who was he?
Well, whoever he was certainly a difficult man to track down.
Let's see now. H-I, we are. H-I. Not a blooming Hitler in the whole book.
Stupid woman, he obviously went ex-directory after he invaded Poland.
We have, however, managed to acquire some very rare film of Hitler, taken just before his bunker blew up.
Really?
Yes, I don't suppose you even knew he died in a bunker, did you, Mel?
No, I didn't know. I didn't even know he played golf, to be quite honest.
Here he is, surrounded by some of his caddies. Herr Hitler! Well, actually, that definitely is him, the head of the Nazi party there.
Yeah, but, that's not the real Adolf Hitler, actually,
No,
it? No,
no, it isn't, actually.
No, of course not, no.
But I'm afraid that was all I could find to sort of
Well, that's all
illustrate
you could find of him, Griff, but actually I've acquired some very rare and I think rather interesting footage of Adolf Hitler. It's taken earlier on in the war, at home in the evening.
Oh, well,
relaxing with some of his mates.
Well, let's have a look at it.
So, can we have a look at the clip? Very interesting. Here we see the familiar black moustache, the familiar goose step.
Well, and the rather unobvious blonde wig.
No. Gestapo uniform, you see, and the fishnet jack boots.
Now, we all know what exactly is going on here, and it's definitely not Hitler, is it?
Oh, yes, it is, Griff.
Well, I'm afraid
it is.
It doesn't
I'm
look
afraid
like
I've irrefutable proof that this is Hitler. Have a look. You see, he's only got one ball.
Can we take a break there,
Certainly.
Live in peace with your pipe. With Mellow Virginia.
Just for the fun of it, the look of it, just for the splash of it, Diet Coca-Cola, just for the one of it, ooh, one calorie, the feeling I get from it, Diet Coca-Cola, just for the shake of it.
Is he all right?
Depends which way you mean it. He's dead. Shut up! Why are you spin because we've killed a German?
You can see how upsetting it would be for her, especially as this is 1958.
But let's go back to the war years and remember that though things were bad, everyone was inspired to new levels of patriotism and respect for British institutions.
What was that?
Well, nearly everyone.
But everyone knew our royal family, God bless them, and we in Britain rarely questioned that they were infinitely preferable to dirty foreign dictators. I mean, just look at this chap's sweaty armpits.
What is your idea of a ruler? A man who must be protected by armed guards like this? Or a man who need not fear to walk freely, like this?
The freedom to walk around like Harry Lauder on a hiking holiday was very dear to the heart of every Englishman.
But you see, such simple pleasures did assume a great significance in the war, like the chance to renew old acquaintanceships.
Get up, quick! Get in here! Get up, Harper! Up! Dave! Get in here! Get out of it! Come on, boys, out of it, quick! Get in here! Come on, quick!
This chap Jerry must be one hell of a guy.
And, of course, there were shortages of everything. Food was rationed, and if you couldn't get what you wanted to eat, you had to make do with whatever came to hand. Yes, anything rather than face the powdered egg.
Mind you, the Americans had an easier time of it. In fact, they even got extra rations when things went well, as they did one Shrove Tuesday at the height of the war.
Only 8 of our ships were hit, but we were all afloat. Pancake all flyers. Give the boys a well done.
Pancake all fighters.
Lovely. Extra pancakes all round, eh?
Yes. And can we just look at that film again? Because it's absolutely fascinating to notice that there were, in fact, some very obvious enemy spies listening to what the commander was saying. See? There they are, the three at the back, pretending to be window cleaners. Short of many vital commodities, Britain somehow muddled through. It's a well-kept secret that the RAF were flying for years before they were supplied with aeroplanes.
Contact!
Group Captain Chalky Board Rubber there. Later to have a distinguished career as the chief test pilot for the Nimrod early warning system.
But, of course, the pilots were only half the story. In their turn, they were dependent on the dedicated ground crews. Here, helping out at the aerodrome, are a couple of former Wimbledon umpires.
No, don't worry. He's in the Navy. He's coming back by boat.
One thing that flourishes in wartime is love.
Yes. Buckets of the stuff.
Yes. Let us eavesdrop for a moment on one of our gallant fighting men declaring his affection to his own true sweetheart.
I do love you, Queenie. You know that, don't you?
And look at this chap on a train.
Oh, Shorty, you're crashing me down.
Yes. Just a minute.
Hello, Blake. What are you doing here?
Bloody good question, if you ask me. It's the same man. The one who was with the girl in the hat just now. What the hell does he think he's doing?
Absolutely.
Here he is again. For heaven's sake.
What's that you're making?
An Air Force pullover.
For anyone particular?
I'll get a move on if it's for him, because he'll start on your mother in a minute.
Oh, my goodness. Look, he's pretending to be in the Air Force
really?
now. I wonder who his foolish floozy is this time.
Well, congratulate me. I'm engaged to be married.
Who to?
I'll give you one guess.
Yes, but you'd have to be the half the Women's Land Army to keep him.
In spite of all these distractions, we did win the war. But how? The Germans had more men, more resources, and a tradition of war and fighting. All we had was our sense of right, our sense of pride.
And Russia and America on our side.
But let's not forget our indomitable spirit of optimism.
Tell the captain, everything under control. Everything under control. Everything under control. Everything under control. Everything under control.
Often misplaced optimism, I feel. And another feature which delighted the Japanese right up until the end of the war was British Telecom's dial-a-joke service. Hirohito himself there, convulsed with mirth at the one about the one-legged waff and the lifetime supply of Brasso.
Also keeping morale up, let us not forget the ENSA concert parties, always on hand to entertain our boys.
Play another tune, for God's sake.
But perhaps not always appreciated as much as they might have been. And what's this? Did the Yugoslav resistance movement have its own version of ENSA? No. It's actually the Serbo-Croat winner of the Russ Abbott lookalike contest. Very, very good. Very good indeed.
Yes, there's absolutely no doubt that entertainment was a key element in Britain's success in the war. This was truly a golden age for BBC Radio, both here and in occupied Europe.
Indeed, yes. Who can possibly forget those comedy shows and their marvellous catchphrases?
Yes.
No lasses tomorrow will bring forth cognac. No lasses tomorrow will bring forth cognac. John has a long moustache. John has a long moustache. Sabine has mumps and jaundice. I repeat, Sabine has mumps and jaundice.
Jean has a long moustache.
Oh, dear. Eat your heart out, Ben Elton.
They don't write them like that anymore.
Well, Ben does, actually.
Well, the war did eventually come to a close, which came as a relief to everyone, including a Japanese woman who was beginning to feel the strain of it all.
What's wrong?
The toilet.
What's holding you back?
Obviously, one of those kamikazes.
In the end, of course, the war was won by the Americans. One American in particular. He was in the Army and the Navy. The Air Force and the Cavalry. And the Bath.
And here is that same American soldier arranging to meet up with an obscure English comedian after the war.
It's your fault this whole air operation hasn't enough men or equipment.
Knock it off, Dr. Freud. After this is over, Griff and I will go out and get knee walking tight and forget it.
Probably sort of bump into him making a lager ad, eh, Griff?
Quite possibly. Anyway, by the end, everyone was looking forward with optimism and hope for the future.
But what of the future for those of us who remain? Our course is clear. It is for us at this moment, with the memory of the sacrifice of our brothers still fresh, to dedicate again our hearts, our minds, and our bodies to the great task that lies ahead. We must go further and dedicate ourselves also to the monumental task of assuring that the peace which follows this Holocaust will be a just, equitable, and conclusive peace. And beyond that lies the mission of making certain that the social order which we bequeath to our sons and daughters is truly based on freedom.
What on earth went wrong? Good night.
Next week, the world, according to Smith & Jones, starts revolving at the later time of 10:45.